Hello, everyone. It is Monday night. It is time for revolutionary change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Pedro Martinez. I mean, Peter Hager. Buenos noches, mi amigo.
Were you like somewhere across the border today or something? Like, what's going
No,
on?
but I wouldn't mind being across the border.
Oh, tell me
Probably
about
be,
that.
probably be safer, cleaner, and all those things that we grow up.
Now you get healthcare and better pharmacy prices, and yep.
I always find it funny that, you got people who constantly talk about Mexico saying how terrible it was, and then somebody would say how terrible Scheinbaum is. And I'm thinking, do you live in Mexico? Probably not. And the one thing I would say about American empire that or at least I have heard for many years is, yeah, things aren't so great here, but believe me, it could be a hell of a lot worse if you were somewhere else. That's always been the talking point. Yeah, I know you don't have health care. I know your education sucks. And I know that you don't have much going for you economically or socially, but just remember, you could be living in, I don't know, Burkina Faso, which now looks like a place that might be doing better than us one day. You never know.
Well, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for them. I'm hopeful for that bloc, that West African bloc of nations that are done being colonized and have asked us and the French to get the fuck out. The difference is the French, I do believe, have left. We seem
Yes.
to want to keep picking at this. We can't handle any sort of actual democracy or sharing of resources amongst a population.
No.
We cannot abide that, because somewhere in that we should be able to profit, and we can't profit unless we can shake down your leader. So that's why if the leader of a particular country is not on the take and isn't one of our tools, then we can't get what we need at the prices we want to get them at, right? So we can't have that. And this guy is not playing ball with us. And I am so here for it.
When we think about what this nation can be and what it's capable of being because of the indelible human spirit that exists among so many Americans, leave it to a Marxist-Leninist to really lay out the cards on the table as we pay tribute to the passing of Michael Parenti.
In fact, we had something close to pure capitalism. I remember debating a businessman on this, and he kept talking about the free market, this, that, we didn't govern that. I said, you're describing something, and if only we could. I said, why must you talk about it as a hypothetical future that has never been given a chance? I said, we did that already. It's called 1890. In 1890, you had a very close approximation to a free market. And what did we have? We had contaminated foods and typhoid epidemics, cholera epidemics. The drinking water in Philadelphia was so contaminated, they had massive typhoid epidemics. We had 11-year-old kids working 14 hours a day in factories, free market, while grown men were unemployed. Young underage girls exploited in factories, used in every way, misused in every way in the
That's your free market that you like. There it is. That's the free market.
Now, let's be clear, when he says that young girls were exploited in every way, he means just that, in every
of course.
way. And that's what I think people need to understand about why the fight against the Epstein files and everything that we're doing now is such a hot button issue that's not going away, because this is something that has been going on for centuries. This isn't something that just started recently. This is something that the elites, the powerful, the criminal, this has been going on for a very long time. And for some reason, it never seems to get prosecuted properly, doesn't go away.
For some reason. I wonder why.
Because in a capitalist system, unfortunately, with no regulation, you can always buy your way out of your troubles. And that's what's effectively happened here.
Sackler family.
Yeah, you think if we lived in a just social democracy, that the Sacklers would ever have been able to get away with what they've gotten? They've gotten away with mass murder. Mass murder. That's what they found.
They should be in prison, and everybody should be outraged. Not the fact that you can pay your way out of criminal liability. That concept is just, that has no place in a quote unquote democracy.
Agreed. Well, sorry about that.
Exploited in factories, used in every way, misused in every way in the free market. No government regulations, no bothersome feminists to come along and fill our heads with silly imaginary problems. We had an environment that was systematically pillaged and raped. We had unrestrained monopolies and trusts. We had mass poverty, unemployment. We had no pension programs, unsafe working conditions, a rate of accident and injury that was even higher than it is today.
And who was the person that came along and actually made significant changes to those ends?
You mean FDR? FDR?
No, Teddy Roosevelt. One president that I do hold in high esteem.
When you're talking about like worker reforms and stuff, when was that? That was what year?
Turn of the 20th century. Okay. That's where the square deal came from. And it's also where he got the nickname, the Trust Buster.
Right. No, that I know, but I wasn't sure about like the worker protections and the regulations and all that.
I also have to say the fact that the gold confiscation that happened under FDR is one of the prime reasons why I put Teddy Roosevelt ahead of FDR. Because that's
you and I are not going to talk about the president, because it's like we talk about it and it's like it's all gross to me.
They all have a lot of blood on their hands. No two ways about it.
And we had very, very high profits. So you're right, capitalism was working at its best. And that is when capitalism works at its best. Not for the people, but for the capitalists. See, the whole essence of that system is that it has a performance and a goal that is for the people who own the system, not for the people who inhabit the country. And in that sense, it was a better system. And when that guy sits there and says, it was better, it'd be better if we had this, better if we had, he's talking from his class perspective. He honestly believes that would be better. And it would be so much better for him, he can't but help believe that it would be better for everyone else. People always pose that. Well, do you think they really honestly think that as an ideology that it would be for the country, or it's their selfish class interest? As if this is either or. I always get a question, some variation of a question like that. That's not either or. Those are both the same thing. The fact that it so well serves their class interest makes it all the more compelling as a belief that it's good for everyone. And it's the right thing and it's the best thing.
It is not. It is good for the people at the very top. It's good for them. It's bad for everyone else. The bottom line is capitalism is a predatory system. It's predatory. And I reject completely this concept that that's the only way something can be. No. A lot of different civilizations occurred before ours with systems that were not inherently predatory. So I reject that that's, somehow the nature of just what we have to have. I reject that.
Yeah, I think that Parenti, like a lot of others, unfortunately, this is the problem when it comes to political extremism, because I do not believe in the concept of communism or Marxist-Leninism in the sense that we can't have any type of a market system. What I do believe is necessary is you have to have a balance of the two. You have to be able to engage the human spirit, but you also can't crush it either. The problem that we have in this country is that the human spirit becomes monopolistic and genocidal and fascistic without control, because eventually you get people into positions of power that do not want to relinquish it. In fact, they want to have it all. As the great Bruce Springsteen, yes, I have to reference him, once said, poor men want to be rich, rich men want to be king, and the king is not satisfied until he rules everything. And there's a reason for that, because if you have somebody like the Sackler family, there is nothing that would stop them unless you have a regulated system. We don't have that. We have a broken system that is working as many have said it's intended to work, but I'm not buying that. I believe that the people who want the worst of the system have it working exactly as they would want it to work. And there are
Yes.
plenty of others out there that you can use as an example. And if you're looking at what Trump is doing right now, he is just putting it on full display where you pay me my money and I'll totally give you what you want. That's why he's giving pardons out like they're candy. He's giving them out to the most insane white-collar criminals out there, but they're all paying him off to get it. And all the while,
everything is pay to play with this administration. Everything is pay to play, and it's just brazen.
Everything.
Yeah.
So when everybody was clamoring to have Romney run the country because we need a businessman running the country, well, now you see what it's like when somebody who isn't a sane business owner operator, who doesn't really know what he's doing, who's allowing the insane yet competent people like the Bain Capital Romneys of the world to basically run the show. That's why I said private equity will be the end of us in terms of this system, because you're seeing it in real time. You want to see private equity working the entire US government? That's what's happening right now. That's why we have a Gestapo out in the street being allowed to do what it's doing. But Michael Parenti was onto a lot. And that's why, like I said, I don't subscribe fully to Michael Parenti's political and economic ideology. However, do I think he's right about capitalism? Yes, he is.
What's his ideology that's just so,
Marxist-Leninism. I don't believe in collectivism. I don't believe in it.
Okay, well.
I don't believe in forced conscription. I don't believe that we have to.
You understand that Marxism does not mean somebody inherently believes in collectivism.
Yes, I understand that. I'm not saying that that's, but inevitably the system that comes from the school of Marx and Engels ultimately pushes the concept of collectivism, of communism. Like, that's what you need. And so while I think that there are elements to every political ideology that can work within a given system, which is why I believe in a hybrid system, there are elements of communism that works. There's elements of libertarianism that works. There's elements of free market capitalism that works. It's just, you can't just have one thing. If you have one thing, inevitably it's going to get pushed in a direction you don't want. You need to at all times kind of have this tug of war where there is this balancing act that has to be done. And I don't want to hear nothing from you guys in the chat. I'm telling you, it is what it is. You are not going to stop the human spirit from trying to achieve greatness. They're within a controlled system. You can't do it. However,
can we address something very quickly that's going on about what happened the other day with Brett? Because apparently everybody's talking about it in the chat. We did not kick Brett out. He left. He's not blocked. Yeah, we didn't kick him out. He left. So just want people to understand that we didn't block him. He's not blocked. He could be here. He's not, but yeah.
Did you not listen to anything that I just said? Or do you just like to make stuff up as you go along? Ayn Rand. That's like saying that I don't believe in single-payer healthcare. That's like saying I don't believe in a universal education.
What were they saying about Peter's talking Ayn Rand? Yeah, I know. My older son is still in his Ayn Rand phase, and I'm hopeful, though, that
Seriously,
he'll come back
what
around.
is the problem? Cut that bullshit. If I didn't,
I'm talking about my kid. What are you talking about?
Kid. You're referencing me with Reese.
I'm talking about Reese. I said my older son.
That there is nothing Ayn Rand about what I said. I do not believe in kill or be killed. There's no such that you can't have a functioning system in a kill or be killed system. That doesn't work. Not even close. In fact, you're better off with what we have now. And even then, that's nuts. But if you do not have a robust social safety net, if you do not have single-payer healthcare, if you do not have a universal education system, which includes tuition-free trade schools and public college, if you do not have a clean environmental system where we have clean air and water to drink, if you do not have regulations on our military, in an Ayn Rand system, there is no such thing. You could get here to the moon, right? Because, yeah, it'll always work that way. There is a balancing act that must be done.
I believe in the concept of collectivism.
Good for you.
And I believe that that's the only way we survive. So, that's just me. What you're talking about, collectivism is not the same thing as communism, right? Like, that's a different concept.
I think that there are elements of collectivism that work. I don't believe a full-on collectivist system
Do
works.
you know what that even means, what I'm saying when I say collectivism?
Yes, looking out for the least of these and having a system. And I do believe in looking out for the least of these. But
That's collectivism.
But yes, but there is a difference between having a welfare state and having a social safety net. There is a difference between the two things.
Yeah, but you're talking policy. I'm talking about the concept of collectivism, the idea that we're responsible for our greater society at whole, that we're all responsible to that. And
Yes,
the fact that countries that respect that, especially when you look at countries like Japan and China, like countries that really respect their elders and you respect your collective. We do not do that here.
Oh, not
that
at all.
is not communism. That's collectivism, and it's a different concept.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to. Again, like I said, there has to be. I believe in a balancing act. That's what I believe, and I think that it's entirely possible because it does work in other parts of the world. And when people say that, oh, you can't have it work here, well, this is what ends up happening in certain circumstances where we have conversations like I had the other night with Jeb Bow and Nikki Rudd, which I think was a great conversation. But at the end of the day, when they end up talking about, the very pro-nationalist, even pro-white, jingoistic form of immigration, it's always fear of the unknown. It's always this fear of, well, these people don't think like we do, and they have different customs. And that's life. You're not supposed to agree with everybody. That's not how this works. And you want to live in a protective enclave. You can see it that way if you want, but therein lies why we need to have why if we are the United States of America, we have to understand why if you do not have a system that cares for its citizenry, this shit's only going to get much, much worse. And that is exactly why we're now faced with a situation where the people are rising up. They're waking up to what's going on.
I hope so. I hope so.
I believe that people are waking up to what's going on. And where I see this as a situation where, you weren't here the other night, so obviously we haven't had the chance to get into what happened with Alex Pretti in Minneapolis. But this is a very serious problem. And I'll tell you why this is going to get so much worse. The person who is overseeing this, and I'm not giving Trump any credit, but I will at least say this much. Trump did not immediately go along with what's being said about Pretti and what happened. However, what is happening is this Mr. Bovino, who is in charge of ICE, who's really in charge of the Gestapo, let's be honest. This is a modern day Heinrich Himmler, if you will. Well, this is what was addressed at a press conference he gave today regarding the identity or identities of the assassins of Alex Pretti.
Commander Bovino, when it comes to the shooting, from what I understand, there were 2 agents who fired shots. We know one of the agents had 8 years experience, and we know he was a less lethal instructor and had this training. What did the other agent, what was his history, and are they both working right now, or are they on administrative leave?
All agents that were involved in that scene are working, not in Minneapolis, but in other locations. That's for their safety.
That's for their safety. So they are working. They've just been put on no administrative leave. They've just been shipped to another location.
The other ICE agents you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes, well, it's like priests, right? They're not going to get rid of them.
God damn it. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah,
you raped this boy. We're going to put you in this other parish.
And can we talk about this guy? Can we talk about this guy? I honestly, this piece of shit is just so unbelievably transparent in his insecurity that it's unreal. It is just unreal. So, I mean, we're bringing out understanding small dick energy in the wild, the premier guide to navigating the micro penis forest just for this guy. Cause yeah.
So what exactly happened to this Mr. Bovino when he was growing up or when he was an adult before he was with ICE apparently this guy has quite a history, doesn't he?
I am not, I have seen, again, nothing verified, that there have been not such complimentary things said about him from people who knew him back in high school.
And got shoved in lockers and things like that. And apparently,
did this guy? Because that's how he. Oh, he did really?
No, all I'm asking you.
What about it? I mean, this is someone to me that has a huge chip on his shoulder. Like, yeah, this is somebody who wore kick me signs on his back for years and has, like, vowed vengeance.
Well, you told me earlier that he apparently that there were like teachers coming out saying that he used.
I'm saying, again, this is not confirmed. It was something that I saw, that apparently there were teachers that came out and said that he got busted in school jacking off. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Again, this is not confirmed. It is not a news source. I'm just saying, like, there are some very unflattering things being said about him. And honestly, it doesn't matter what is said about him from back then. What matters is that he's a complete piece of shit right now. So,
okay. So just confirmed in the Atlantic, Greg Bovino has been fired. So somebody obviously,
goodbye.
So somebody clearly was going to get it, and he's getting it.
I was kind of hoping, look, if it's going to be him, it's going to be him, whatever. But I was kind of hoping for, the Cuntosaurus to take the fall.
You can't, again, listen, I totally want to screw that lady, so I really can't let go of her. So take the ugly guy away.
I was really hoping that then again, right. So she's one of his, MAGA Barbies. So yeah, the little guys.
They can't all be blonde. He's got to have one brunette mixed in there. Yeah. So according to the Atlantic, Greg Bovino loses his job. The Border Patrol chief has been ousted from his role as Commander at Large. What a name! What a title! And will return to El Centro. Interesting.
Wait, he's going back to what? Where is he going? What rock is he going back under?
I guess he's from California, El Centro, California, I believe.
Yeah, bye-bye. Go. I hate to say it because it's like nobody deserves to have to deal with him, but it's like, go back and abuse the people where you work and your own family.
Well, that, of course, I think that's where the bigger problem is here, is that the reason I believe he's being fired is because he's really bad at PR, not because they don't think he did a good job. If they thought that he was protecting ICE's image from a PR standpoint, he'd still have the job. They probably think he's doing a shitty job, so they got to kick him out. He's like,
right. No, he's, again, for sure, he's not losing his job because somebody at the top thinks that ICE crossed the line and this guy needs to be accountable. No. He's losing his job because he's just the one that got stuck with his pants down and somebody has to pay for it. That's it. It's not some sort of like statement on their morality.
No, but then again, this is not an organization that has morality. They don't again, this is the difference between regular law enforcement and ICE. Regular law enforcement has bad apples that anyone who's worth their weight in anything in law enforcement doesn't do anything about, and it basically renders the entire concept of law enforcement to be irrelevant and shouldn't exist. And that's their own doing. Whereas with ICE, they're all terrible.
Yeah.
They're all bad. The type of people that are attracted to this type of work, and keep in mind, ICE has only been around for just a little over 20 years. Where do you think ICE came from? It came as a response to 9/11, which we now all know is an Israel special inside job. So what in the fuck do you think ICE was about? ICE is no different than the Patriot Act. This was something that was sitting on the fucking shelves that they were trying to figure out how they could pass it. And then they pull, there was like a code name. Operation Big Event was the name of 9/11. So they had their big event, and now you have this shit. So how long is it going to be before people say, yeah, I think we could do away with this?
Well, ICE is, and again, I still think that their existence is unconstitutional. I think they are unconstitutional in how they have been created. I think it's unconstitutional in how they've been funded. I think there's a lot of things there that are a problem. But and let me be clear, as somebody who supports abolition, I don't believe that there are I don't believe that good policing is a thing. So, I do believe that there are some people that do go into policing and law enforcement that do have decent intentions, depending on where they live and depending on the department. I do believe there are a few, right? There's none in ICE. No. There's not a single person in ICE that is in any way, shape, or form somebody who cares about justice.
I would 1,000%.
Not any. There are. I do believe that some people do go into law enforcement, although I believe it's misguided and I believe it's ineffectual in that way, that do potentially want to make a difference and help and do believe in justice. I do. Yeah. But not with ICE.
Yeah, by the way, I'm glad to see Rusty back in the chat. I know who Rusty is. I don't know why he was kicked out.
I don't either. What, guys, please. I saw what was happening. I messaged to Colin.
Can't we all just get along? Not with this guy. Last time we'll be hearing from this sorry sack of shit.
There's this thing called doxing, and the safety of our employees is very important to us. So we're going to keep those employees safe. As far as the number of shots, the number of agents involved, that, again, is going to come out in the investigation.
Not from you anymore.
Hey, Rusty, what happened? I'm sorry. I got it. Why did you even get blocked? Who did that? What's going on?
Let him expect. That's fine. Let's stay focused.
I care about my peeps, Peter. Okay. Yeah.
Well, we obviously have to also care about this scumbag finally being let go. But when you talk about scummy people, again, this is the problem here. You have this douche canoe who's now on his way out because somebody had to fall. But then you have this from earlier today with Kash Patel and Maria Bartiromo, who Bartiromo is always a mouthpiece for Trump and for the GOP. And even she couldn't hold it in.
Thousands of people are marching through Minneapolis. They are targeting the Border Patrol. I mean, it feels like the rhetoric and the protesting is only ramping up. What is your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks?
As Christy said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that.
Where's that? I'd like to know where that's written. I want to know what code he is referencing. Is there a USC code that he's referencing on that? Because I've never heard of that. In fact, I'm pretty sure that people can have concealed carry permits legally. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, somebody wrote it on a memo and he decided to read it off. Like, again, he's such a dumbass that it's entirely possible that he might actually believe that that's the case. That's the scary part.
Well, the thing that bothers me about him, I get such a good image for a graphic. He's always a deer in headlights. He constantly looks like a deer in headlights. He is so unbelievably fighting outside of his weight class in this job that it's hard for me to blame him for anything because he's just so unbelievably inept. Like he's so incapable. But just saying that, like that there's a law against that.
And there's some people who can dance on the head of a pin when it comes to talking about law enforcement, that they actually can, they can fudge the line, if you will. There is no fudging of the line here. And he did not come to that protest physically engaging with those ICE agents. He was filming and he was armed, and that is his legal right to do so.
But no, here's the more important thing, and I people need to really understand this. The fact that they're using his carrying of a concealed weapon as any sort of like pretense for what happened, when they didn't even know he was carrying until after they had him down on the ground, because he was properly concealed carrying in a holster behind him on his back. So he was holding a phone in one hand. Yeah, he was holding a phone in one hand, had his hand up in the other, and he had his firearm in the back. So how would they have seen that from what was going on until after they had him on the ground? They saw the firearm, they disarmed him, it was completely taken out of the picture, and then they executed him. And then they actually have the nerve to say it has something to do with the fact that he had a firearm.
But don't forget what we discussed earlier, which is being ignored here. Once again, guys, it's like playing detective. You can't miss the important details when you're going through, I don't want to say the autopsy, but when you're going through forensics in the crime scene, you have to look for the most important pieces of evidence. And to me, the most important piece of evidence is not the two ICE officers that shot and killed Alex Pretti. It's the first ICE officer that started the whole thing, shoving that woman to the ground and then proceeding to take the can of mace and shoot it into Alex Pretti's face like he was trying to kill him. Because again, one shot of mace to the eyes, you're probably going down. It's going to blind you. It's going to make you tear, and it's going to hurt like a mother. And if you're doing it excessively, nonstop for many seconds, you could probably kill him. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, and I think that's an important point, because at the end of the day, every single one of those agents that was holding him down could have just as easily been the one to mace him or shoot him, because every single one of these thugs, okay, is like weekend warrior, want to play commando with as many weapons as possible. These are people that either couldn't cut it in the military, were discharged from the military, fired from other law enforcement. These are people that are so desperate because, again, I mean, it's a very small dick energy thing, but these are not people that are going to, be reserved and use good judgment. These are people that are all wanting to use their weapons. So yeah, I agree that we need to go back and everybody needs to be taking note as to who these people are and doing the best we can to track these people down, like we did with the first piece of shit when he murdered Renee Good. So all of these people will be discovered. But I just think that you singling, like, every single one of those guys will be the next one who does this. And that's what I'm saying. They're all the same.
And that's what, and that also brings in what Ken Klippenstein said, which is there's a lot of ICE agents who don't like what's going on. And if there's enough of them, what's eventually going to happen is one of them is going to leak the names. That's how it's going to happen. And this is very much like the Turning Point USA employees who knows what, the likes of Andrew Colvett and Tyler Boyer and the rest of them are doing within that organization. As you often say, Jen, the call is always coming from inside the house.
But then you see this. Look at this.
He should not have resisted. He was responsible for his own actions. Again,
you didn't see the same video we've seen.
Yeah,
he wasn't resisting anything. He was helping somebody.
All right, so once again, and I will say this, let me give you all that not woke with your Pennywise psychopathic screenshot. I'm sure you're just like your profile pic. Am I right? Let me give you this. Let me give you all of it. Let's say all those things are true. You think he deserved to die?
Exactly. That's the point. Exactly. That's how far over the Overton window has shifted.
Right. Why don't you look at what just happened today in Paris, France, when the police were trying to stop a Free Palestine protest? See what happens there. You see, you're the type of fuckhead who actually would say, yeah, they should have shot all those Free Palestine protesters. This is the only country.
So are these Second Amendment enthusiasts? These Second Amendment enthusiasts that are all fine with that until somebody actually lawfully is using their Second Amendment right?
That's fine.
But yeah.
And I am a Second Amendment enthusiast. Like, I fully believe in the right to bear arms. So the fact that you're trying to pull this shit is hysterical. You are a cuck for the state. And that's it. And again, either you're libertarian conservative or you are a cuck conservative. At this point, as far as I'm concerned, there's no difference, or there is a difference, and that's the only difference. It's just that, period. You really think this is about illegal immigration? You're still convinced that that's what this is about?
That's just where it started.
If you think that we couldn't stop illegal immigration overnight in this country, of course we can. Why don't we? Because the multinational corporations that own this country, own our government, and pay slave wage want it that way. Some come in, some leave. They create jobs. It's all part of the military defense budget. How the fuck can't you see this? How can anybody not see at this point what this system is? You're just blind. That's it. Period.
Simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence. We will, of course, always protect your First Amendment speech. And if you peacefully protest, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have seen a trend here, not just in Minnesota, but across the country, in these protests turning into violent scenarios and people attacking law enforcement. That's when you go over the line, and that's when law enforcement steps in.
Well, I have not seen that anywhere. I've not seen anybody attacking law enforcement. So apparently, you know, I'm not seeing the same footage that Kash Patel is.
You know, I'm not convinced that he even knows how to operate a firearm. He's probably one of those guys. I don't think he's, well, what's his experience in any form of law enforcement? I mean, to me, it's sort of like McMahon for education. Like, it's just someone that got stuck there. These people have no knowledge of anything in which what they're doing. Yeah, he's a, much like Bovino. Bovino is the fall guy. There's probably going to be more. But Patel is a prime example of the person who's just way in over his head. Probably doesn't believe just about anything that he says. He's probably very much just somebody who just search and follow Revolutionary Change now on Upscrolled. Good to see you.
Are we on that? Is that something we're on?
Okay, so guys, we're going to get into Upscrolled when our...
I don't know anything about this. That's why I put that there.
Well, it just started a couple of months ago, and now it's becoming a thing because of what's going on with TikTok.
Good.
But speaking of somebody who absolutely knows how to use a firearm and speak truth to power, it's friend of the show, Greg Stoker.
First of all, really sorry. This has been the front lines of what's happening right now in America. This is a test run for a greater program to quash dissent. You know, as a veteran of the unfortunately named and completely ill-fated global war on terror, this is the forever war coming home. We don't really have the power projection to do it overseas in countries like Iran anymore or Venezuela, but it's here. There is no separation between the police state and the war state, both for profit, to consolidate the powers of the ruling class. You know, everyone kind of feels like this entire system is collapsing. These Republican institutions, which we've relied on for generations, are no longer really a thing.
And there's many reasons for that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, which we've been discussing in earnest since Jen first ran against Wasserman Schultz all the way back in 2019, was we were dealing with the issue of insider trading, of which Wasserman Schultz is a connoisseur, along with the likes of Pelosi, when it comes to basically saying rules for thee, not for me. And that was just scratching the surface of how bad it could possibly get. But as you've been saying, ever since we connected, that Trump would inevitably facilitate the revolution because he does not protect empire. It's the one true benefit of having him in power. He does not protect empire.
No.
And Greg Stoker, who has put his life on the line for this country and is now running for Congress as a Green Party candidate in Texas's 31st district, which is in Austin.
How is the green infrastructure there? Do you know? Like, did they have a decent?
Don't know of any, but at the end of the day, if you're going to run as a green anywhere, a place like Austin would make the most sense.
No, I agree. I'm just curious, like, what their history is there in terms of infrastructure. I don't know if it's like how in California, there are definitely places that have really good green infrastructure.
Good point.
They're in danger of being completely imploding, and that is something that should be deeply concerning. And the Democratic response to this has been, well, to maintain the status quo, which is to fund ICE, to give them political cover and protection. So there's this old joke, you know, when the Republicans say, you know, we're going to have the military take children into unmarked vans. The establishment Democrats, their response is, mark the bans, more body cams, as if that ever really did anything. We're at a crisis point, and I think what's really admirable about what all of y'all have done here is started to build community, mutual aid, community defense, alternative systems of power outside of the government. And so I think that's something that going forward, we're kind of living in this era of hyper-normalization where, there's no effective leadership and no vision of where we go in the future. A lot of politicians are running against, well, I'm not Trump, and once he goes away, that these ideologies and all of this militarism and all the corporate donors, the billionaires who want to usher in a surveillance state are going to go away. They're not. He can go away. You can campaign on being different from Trump and offering something different, but there is no vision. And I don't think anyone's going to save us but us. And so we need to find a way to unite, not just along left versus right. That's done. It has to be done.
I mean, we've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah.
It does have to be done. And the more the unraveling of this system continues to show its face, the more people are saying, to hell with this. I mean, I would definitely say, and I think you would agree, that the two young men that we had on the channel on Saturday, those are two very, Christian conservative guys. But they were saying,
it's disconcerting, but yes.
But they said that any way that we can work together, let's do it. And I would say that that is not only a welcome change to the way things have been over the past. I mean, I guess you would say that things have really been bad since. I mean, to me, I think the inflection point was Bush's, coup, if you will, into the White House back in 2000. I would say that that's when the real divide really began. And then it just grew and grew and grew to the point at which they just decided you can't work with anybody, you can't talk to anybody, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so today we're seeing the remnants of the breaking of the system. But at the same time, you're seeing a lot of people coming together along class lines. And that is the magic of leaders like Greg Stoker and Anthony Aguilar and Shama Sawant, who are running for Congress outside of the two-party system. That's power. That's real power.
We need conservatives to kind of wake up to what's going on, to see how they've been played. We need liberals to stop being a brunch, and we need the left to get its crap together. Because this is not a left versus right thing. This is a top versus down thing.
That's right.
That's it. That's it. The Democrats are all part of the same machine. They have the same corporate donors. They're cool with funding genocide and regime change operations overseas, and they always, always, always vote to fund the police. And their one difference is just do it quietly. Just have decorum, have better rules. But this is becoming intolerable.
That's right.
While we cannot afford to live, while we're getting brutalized in the street and there's no government accountability, we are going to raise the defense budget another $500 billion to $1.5 trillion. There is nothing that and the Democrats are not going to push back. No Republicans going to push back. There is really nothing left that we're offered except militarism and, the same old propaganda that we don't deserve anything better. So if the government, if it cannot be held accountable to us as people, well, we need to start building alternate sources of power. That's right.
Yes, alternate sources of power. Where is somebody like Thomas Massie regarding this huge increase in the war budget?
Oh, 1,000% against it.
Okay, so he's been speaking out against this proposed $1.5 trillion.
Now, Massie is the leader. If there is a leader in federal politics, he's the leader. He's the closest thing you got. Speaking of a person who isn't worth listening to, and you should really stop listening to her because she doesn't have a fucking clue, which is basically what Greg has been talking about. And that's not to say that what AOC is doing with Paris Hilton regarding AI porn is not a big deal. But if you think, yeah.
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know.
This is what's grabbing the headlines. What isn't grabbing the headlines is the fact that AOC.
You know why that grabs headlines? That, and I'm sitting here now. Now I'm pissed because that's the kind of shit they do to rally what privileged white women in the suburbs on an issue. It's sort of like Moms Demand Action or Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You're going to go latch onto an issue just to get women who care about one particular. I hate that shit.
You know, the thing that I think is funny is that, you know, before the days of internet porn, you know what used to happen back in the day, ladies and gentlemen? There used to be women that were photographed in magazines and famous people and stuff like that. You know what guys would do? They would look at those images and they jerk off to it. And so today, what's the difference? The difference is now they have AI generated imagery to basically do the same thing, only it's, you know, it's moving.
Well, and here's my position on it is personally, I don't care if people enjoy AI porn. My problem is that when they use other people, real people's likeness in artificial ways, that to me is scary and creepy. If the entire person is a fake person and it's a whole fake AI thing, I really don't care. If you're a consenting adult and you want to watch that shit, I have a problem with the idea of that they're using actual real people in things that are not real.
Yeah,
okay, and again, that's very concerning, which is probably what they're talking about.
Yeah, that is what they're talking about. And again, I do think that that's an issue. However, what isn't being talked about is the fact that AOC just endorsed a Zio-backed congressional candidate in a race where there is a non-Zio candidate running for office. So here's what Alex had to say in her genius about why she's endorsing Sand's candidate.
Congresswoman AOC here. I'm here to let you know that we can't let the GOP gerrymander one of our strongest fighters out of Congress. As we speak, Julie Johnson is standing up every day in Congress to combat ICE overreach, MAGA extremism, and to stand up for the freedoms of Texans everywhere.
Really? What about the freedoms of the Palestinian people? What about the freedoms of everyday Americans who are tired of the Zio state controlling our country? What
okay,
about
but who is she? Let's talk about who it is she's propping up. But let this little thing finish. Then let's talk about who she's propping up.
Yes. Well, I want to make sure that I get her name right. Is it Tina? I think it's Tina Johnson. I want to make sure because it's all coming up as, or is it Gina Johnson? I just want to make sure I get it right. Why in the frickety frack can I not get this? Again, they protect these people so carefully to not let any of this get out. I got to go right to the internet. So we'll let her finish out what she's saying.
She is fighting to defend your health care, make life more affordable, and tackle corruption in Washington. I'm supporting Julie in her run, and I hope you will too. Early voting starts on February 17th, and Election Day is March 3rd. See you at the polls.
So she's fighting corruption, but yet takes money from AIPAC.
Yes, a lot.
Okay. So Alex, you are a piece of shit. You are not to be trusted. You are a grift. And I can only hope when you do decide to run for something bigger, that you will fail so bigly. So bigly.
Totally bigly.
She is a piece of shit. The fact that she's sitting here and promoting somebody that is a complete Zio tool. She hasn't said shit about the Palestinians.
No.
You know, just seriously, Alex, get the fuck out of here.
You know, the one thing that's pretty obvious with her, if you look at how she presented it, well, hold on a minute. I want to pull this up for a second.
Congresswoman AOC here. I'm here to let you know that we can't.
At least she's not lying in bed in a hoodie. I guess there's that.
May I please? Her posture's different. Her diction's different. Her speech pronunciation's different. So she's being coached. She is being taught how to work on her presentation. That's what's happening here. That's why she is dressed professionally, looks professional, acting professional, and maybe I can be convincing of people that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, they're going to try to make her look somewhat more presidential than lying on her back with a hoodie in her apartment making a little selfie. But at the end of the day, and you said this to me earlier, all she is an influencer.
Who happens to be a congresswoman.
Correct.
That's it.
But she's not capable of going anywhere past where she is. And no matter what they do, I don't care what kind of consultants that they bring in. You cannot put enough lipstick on a pig to make you not see that they're still a pig. Right?
And if you're living in this moment right now, with what Israel is doing, still doing a genocide, and they're bringing the genocide here to the United States in the form of ICE, and you're out there endorsing a candidate who is backing Israel, like, how bad is your radar? Like, how bad is it? Is it that bad?
You're right. I mean, she's just being totally coached like a pageant princess at this point. She looks ridiculous. She's a performing seal. Make it go away, please.
So here's the reason why this is such a big deal. And I want people to realize that, yes, not only is her instinct bad for backing a candidate who happens to be supported by Israel, this is in Texas. Why are you supporting a congressional race in Texas? And why are you doing it against another Democratic candidate who takes no money from ICE? Or not only doesn't support ICE, but also doesn't take money from Israel. That is
you see why? Because it's the same reason Alex always supports the sitting incumbent unless they're anti-choice, right? Otherwise, she's never going to stand up to a sitting incumbent because Alex has no principles. She doesn't stand for anything. She has no mission. She is just an influencer and a talking head. And her head's not that bright.
No. And again, this is an example of.
So there's a better option in her own party, and yet she's still endorsing the Zio shill.
Correct. Therein lies the problem here, which is, could you imagine a scenario where Wasserman Schultz ends up in a district that's, let's say, we'll just say a +2R, but she chooses to run to the general because she's the incumbent. Could you imagine somebody like her, somebody coming out saying we have to protect this Democratic seat, even though it's Wasserman Schultz? Oh, you know it's going to happen. You know it.
No,
you know it.
I don't know. Well, that would be, yeah.
In a way, I want them to do it just because I want people to understand how dead this party really is, because it's dead.
Well, and somehow she thinks she's going to be the new face of that. She's going to take it in a whole different direction, except for the fact that she's exactly the same as them. Just younger.
Yeah, I'm the new kid on the block. I'm the next Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
I could sit there for 40 years, and she could. You see, that's the scary part. She could easily sit there for 40 years, and Alex is Catholic as well. So yeah, I mean, she's really got it down. Just check those boxes, baby. We have truly failed, haven't we?
It's so many levels as a species. Yeah. So, but I'm even thinking bigger than you on that concept. But yes, we have most definitely failed.
If you're enjoying this conversation so far, before we bring in our esteemed guests, please consider going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty and, yes, very suppressed but still growing channel. For those of you who have chipped in already, we want to give a big shout out to Wally Rashid for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you very much, my friend. Gezen82 with the $2. They just export slave labor to China or Mexico. Correctamundo. And with the $5, FDR made up for it by giving to people. Capitalism forced the confiscation of gold to reset what they messed up. FDR wasn't considered capitalist. No, he just saved capitalism by confiscating the gold. That's what happened. Got to remember that. Very important. And Gezen one more time with the $5. Communism came from Book of Acts in Bible. Look it up, please. Jesus was a communist. So there's that.
Jesus was a socialist. What makes you think Jesus was a communist?
Did you know that Jesus was a Jew? Libertarian Social Dem with the $4.99. There are different flavors of libertarians who do believe in some social safety net, transparent regulations, mutual aid, and unions. Yes, you're libertarian left, and that does exist. And I would definitely say I'm libertarian left. I would say that that's a fair assessment. And Gezen82 with the $5 again. Acts chapter 4, verse 32. They were one heart and soul. No one claimed private ownership of anything. Everyone held in common.
Everything held in common.
That's what I said.
You said everyone.
I thought I said everything. Well, you always pick off little mishaps in my language when I say it. For the $2, Christians should love communism. Well, you know, the real Christian lefties, yeah, they probably do. And with the $2, everyone not wearing masks except ICE. Yeah, I guess you're right. They pretty much are now. Willie Bragg, subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show. $5. Greg Bovino is basically Barney Fife dressed up in a fascist uniform, and the only thing that makes me feel bad is that Barney Fife was not a bad guy.
I know. I feel like no need to bring Don Knotts into this. No need to go there.
Citizen Pendejo with the 50 pesos. Abolish ICE equals abolish APAC. Domino effect. Oh, I like that. Jim Talib with the $5 super sticker. Appreciate you, my friend. Uncommon Magic with the $5. As former LEO, law enforcement officer of 10 years, the culture isn't bad apples. It's a bad orchard.
Thank you.
Toxic waste dump. Well said,
Thank you.
Gezin with the $2. All lives matter. What a joke. Yeah, obviously now you're finding out that it really was a joke. Citizen Bendejo with the 20 pesos. It's insane how hard YouTube is censoring super chats. It is insane how hard they're censoring our entire channel. I was a clip that we dropped earlier today had 450 views and 150 likes. So yes, it's deliberate, it's on purpose, and that is the price you pay for speaking truth to power, which we're going to talk about with our two esteemed guests in just a minute. And finally, Uncommon Magic with the $5. I want the same funny pills Noam, Bovino, and Patel are taking. I guess you're right. You really do.
Well, I mean, Kash Patel just always looks really coked out to me.
No, he's got the eyes.
Well,
the eyes
yeah. I mean, he looks like he's always just, or maybe Adderall. I don't know, but he seems to be on something.
One of the great things about our channel is our ability to bring together like-minded people who can sometimes see eye to eye on a lot of key issues, including a key issue like JFK and Israel. And I must say...
And why is that important now?
Well, it's important now because you're seeing just how much Israel has infiltrated our State Department, our country as a whole, and it speaks to the greater issue here, which is, has this country been completely off the rails since November 22nd, 1963? And my answer would be absolutely. And we've just been going down that hill ever since. And so when you consider JFK and RFK and the battle against Zionist extremism, one of my absolute favorite books, along with JFK, Why He Died and Why It Matters, and The Unspeakable. JFK and The Unspeakable, Why He Died and Why It Matters. The two best books I've ever read on the topic. And one of those individuals wrote that first book. That's Ken McCarthy. Welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Hey, Ken. So good
and
to
now
see you.
Now you have a young gentleman who has been a guest on our show, who has been addressing this topic at great length, doing a phenomenal job, and he's Palestinian. Wally Rashid, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Hey, have you guys met before? Like, have you guys ever collabed?
I thank you for bringing us together, Jen. No, I haven't, but I've admired Wally's show very much. In fact, sometimes I watch it and I'm cheering.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for sending me your book, by the way. I really like your work as well.
You got the PDF?
Yeah, I did. I appreciate it.
The physical one's coming. I think they're going to deliver it tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, Wally, Ken is like one of the most thoughtful people. You really are. And by the way, Ken, my Rachel, who's our production assistant, just came out today and she's like, I love me, Ken McCarthy. He's so thoughtful. He responds and tells me he gets things. Like, he just knows. Like, it's true. It's very appreciated. So I'm glad. I like to cross-pollinate and bring people together that wouldn't otherwise know each other, like building a bigger coalition. And you guys are definitely going to go in and geek out about this. So I'm excited for you.
Wonderful.
Well, I learned so much from watching Wally's show. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. You're all doing incredible work. And guys, links are in the description. So make sure that you subscribe to Wally's show on YouTube as well as on social media. And speaking of social media, I think it is only appropriate that we get into this now. Wally, you have obviously built quite a following on social media, in particular on TikTok. And we all see what's happening now. And it looks like while perhaps the intention of Larry Ellison wasn't necessarily to take over TikTok and grow it into something in his mind that was going to be better, but basically to destroy it from the inside. I can't really see any other reason why he did what he did, but has any of your work been personally affected as a result of the Zio takeover of TikTok, as well as some of these other social media channels that now seem to be getting infiltrated as we go forward?
Yeah, definitely. Well, luckily, I kind of expected that this was going to be happening. So I think I really started my YouTube channel about 3 months ago in anticipation of the fact that we were going to see decrease in views, total censorship. So, and everything, it's honestly, it's happening exactly as expected. It's really unfortunate. I think when we saw the takeover of CBS News and how they really just changed it completely to just be a very pro-Israel propagandist network, as if it wasn't already beforehand. But now the level of control is unlike anything I've seen before. There's a total takeover, not just of mainstream media, but of social media as well. And it seems like it's only backfiring. I mean, with CBS News, I don't know if you guys saw, but now they have the lowest ratings. I think their ratings are absolutely tanking. I think that these oligarchs, these billionaires, think that the more they can control, they can eventually change society and make them love Israel again. I think they're in for a rude awakening, because the more they do this, I think it's actually fomenting more anger and more hatred. I think it's only backfiring. So I guess we'll just see how things unfold moving forward, honestly.
Ken, when you were growing up in the 60s and after what happened with Kennedy, was there, especially up until the Garrison trial that started in 68 into 69, was there a considerable amount of censorship that went on, especially with the Zapruder film that they were able to keep protected for so many years, as well as, you know, what did come out, if you even want to call it that, but we all knew that the Warren Commission was a phony. What was it like in those days compared to what you're seeing now?
Well, you know, I was only 3 years old in the 1960s when Kennedy got shot, but I can't address this. There was a time when it was, you would see, and I can remember, I guess I was a kid still, maybe in the early 70s, maybe in the mid 70s, you could see specials on the Kennedy assassination on network TV, and they were questioning. And somehow they managed to shut that down entirely. I mean, you would never see that now. The other thing you used to see on TV a lot was critiques of the pharmaceutical industry, like really in-depth, hard-hitting, you know, hour-long documentaries about what criminals and scumbags they are, you know. You never see that anymore either. So I think with Reagan, I think in the 80s, the switch really got flipped. And it became all corporate all the time with no space whatsoever. And it just got worse. And then Clinton made it worse, you know, and then it got just worse and worse and worse. But there used to be some daylight in the mainstream media. Not a lot, but it would happen occasionally.
Well, you have to thank me for passing the Telecom Act in 1996. That was exactly what changed everything. But with that being said, there was a great movie that came out when you were a kid called Executive Action, which came out in 1973. And if anybody has not seen that Burt Lancaster film, I mean, I'm still flabbergasted. It basically is exactly as they said it went down, in accordance with Madeline Brown, LBJ's mistress, that this big meeting happened in Dallas the day before the assassination. And that's essentially what the movie was about. And I'm thinking, wow, they really went there. And you never knew about the film. It was like it got forgotten about. So when I saw it, I was thinking, wow, they must have really went to task to try to prevent this from happening, from getting out there. And all I'm thinking is they're preventing it because there's a lot of truth to it. There's no other.
They can bury stuff quite easily.
Yeah, JFK, the only president to not lick the wall. And so I bring this up because, as I'm sure both of you have seen, and now everybody in the audience is going to see, Mr. Presser, a nice little Jewish boy, as I like to say, is now in charge of TikTok. He is the CEO, and this is from, I surmise, some type of event, tech event, that just took place in Tel Aviv over the weekend.
Change to designate the use of the term Zionist as a proxy for a protected attribute as hate speech. So if somebody were to use Zionist, of course you can use it in the sense of you're a proud Zionist, But if you're using it in the context of degrading somebody, calling somebody a Zionist as a dirty name, then that gets designated as hate speech.
And how exactly, wait, who's the arbiter of context? See, that's what I want to know. Who gets to be the arbiter of the nuance of every situation as to what somebody intends by the term?
They're so crazy.
Oh,
they're batshit crazy.
Wally, I think you've used the term Zionist a time or two.
Yeah, dude, it's truly the level of control and censorship. I don't think they realize, like, they're only hurting themselves. They're only shooting themselves in the foot, because every single stereotype that they want to stop from perpetuating, they're doing it. So I don't realize how they're not recognizing, oh, the more we do this, the more we actually solidify the stereotypes that we want, I think they want to stop spreading. It makes no sense to me. The stereotype that Jewish people control the media, the best way to shut that down is by not doing things like this and then outwardly bragging about it too. That's the thing. They brag about it and boast about it while everybody's watching, and they do it with so brazenly. I don't recognize how, there's that disconnect there.
I also don't understand how they think this is helping them, Jen. How is this helping?
it isn't. They're desperate, but I don't think anything that groups like the ADL or what was that other one, Leora Rez's group, that these
Stop anti-Semitism.
Yeah, whatever these groups are, their sole existence is to maintain the status quo of Zionism, and where that's what they have nothing to do with anti-Semitism. And that's what, and they're trying to conflate it and make it be like it's hateful. But again, that brings me back to, as a first free speech absolutist, I don't care if it's hateful. I don't care if somebody wants to walk around saying hateful things about Jews. I'm not going to hang out with that person. I'm not going to probably want to be friends with them, but they could say whatever they want. People could say hateful shit all day long, every day. This whole thing bothers me. So.
And they do. I mean, they say it about all kinds of groups. I mean, and nobody seems to complain. You know, I have what I think might be a unique take on this, and I wonder your impression. I think these Zionists are occupying a space similar to Christian TV evangelists. They don't care how crazy their stuff is, because they're grifters, and their grift is to keep a particular group of people on the hook and keep pulling money in from them. So, if you're following what I'm saying, like if a sane person watches one of these televangelists, you think, who would go for this? Well, there's a percentage of people that go for it, and that's who their audience is. And I think for people like this, their audience are the deluded, Zionist, Israel uber alles people that just take out the checkbook and write another check.
I also think that the one element that is also being ignored here is that this is almost predominantly, if not exclusively, based on class. It's based on class from the standpoint of the people that are sitting on this stage. It's based on class from the standpoint of the people that Wally and I interact with on the regular, that are getting paid to promote pro-Israel messaging. And in many cases, they're paid a lot of money to do it. So the lack of morality, if you want to talk about true lack of morality, you're looking at it from two places. You're looking at it from these douchebags on the stage, and you're looking at it from the people who are the so-called independent media sphere that are really just in it for the money and nothing more. And that's the sin.
To be moderated against. Over the course of 2024, we tripled the amount of accounts that we were banning for hateful activity. We also have, I think, over 24 Jewish organizations that are constantly feeding us intelligence and information when they spot violative trends. There is no finish line. There's no finish line to moderating hate speech, identifying hateful trends, trying to keep the platform safe. There's no such thing as an end game.
Yes, because what you're talking about is mind control, and it's horrifying. I don't care if people want to be hateful. That's their problem. The idea that people think they can mind police is insanity to me.
Well, I also think the reason they say there's no end game is because that would end the grift. Because somebody's collecting millions and millions of dollars from deluded people, and they're parceling it out. But believe me, they're keeping a whole bunch of it for themselves. And that's how I look at Israel. Besides being a demonic, murderous place, it's just the land of grifters. They steal land from people in the West Bank, and then they sell it, at synagogues and temples in Toronto and northern New Jersey, and I mean, it's just one grift after another.
Yeah, it really is. I made the click recently. Israel really is a billionaire project. The state of Israel is lifted by the billionaire elite class, and they really are the only class left that's propping it up. The mega group, it was Jeffrey Epstein's billionaire backer, Les Wexner. He created the mega group back in the 90s. And one of the main things they were concerned about was Jewish intermarriage rate and the demographic problem in Israel. And because of the demographic problem, they started Birthright for Israel, where Jewish people around the world get a free trip. That was directly created by Charles C. Graham. It's all a billionaire project, just so that way they can keep bringing an influx of settlers. Every aspect of Israel was created by the billionaire elite class, and they're losing control. So now they're trying to regain that control.
Bro, do you know about Jewish summer camp? Like, that's like another thing that they do. Because especially when they're
first of all, the way you say that is weird, just because there's tons of Christian camps, right?
Oh, sure.
When you say Jewish camp, there are a lot. I mean, there are a lot of other religion camps. You say it like it's special that Jews have camps.
No, well, what I'm saying is that you have like these Jewish camps, especially like in upstate New York, where the whole idea is to kind of get people together and try to get them to fall in love and make sure the tradition continues and all that. So, yeah, I mean, that is a thing.
Miriam Adelson in 2018, she was giving a speech in Jerusalem at one of these conferences for Birthright, and she said, "Now go back to your hotel rooms and make a lot of Jewish babies and have them stand up for Israel." And then they also, when they go on Birthright, they pair them up with attractive IDF officers that are around the same exact age as the people that are coming to visit, because they want to basically get them to date and have more immigrants. The whole thing is based on how many settlers can we bring to Israel to expand and keep up the predominantly Jewish, majority. That's kind of the whole shtick of Israel. And
protecting pedophiles. They seem to really be good at that too.
Well, speaking of a alternative, because that's one of the key topics of the live stream this evening, there is an alternative to TikTok. There is a way to get away from this. And Jen, please, don't do that. Not while I'm doing this. We have an alternative. It's called Upscrolled. And here's the founder of Upscrolled. And here's a little caveat about him that you're going to love. Here we go.
Other platforms keep censoring, silencing, and shadow banning voices. So I decided to build an alternative. Maybe you are one of those voices, or maybe you want to see those voices get the reach they deserve. No matter what, every person deserves freedom and safety from the Orwellian tyranny of big tech. My name is Isam Hijazi. I'm a Palestinian.
All the more reason to support these efforts.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing about this is not a publicly traded company. Now, of course, that could change. I mean, obviously it could change. But just the fact that the alternative to Ziotalk is this, which is created by a Palestinian whose entire message is free speech, period. I mean, how much better can it get than that? Which is why, as I'm sure all of you have observed today in particular, Upscroll is trending in a big way. And what has been several 100,000 subscribers is now going to be several million by tomorrow. And it's going to keep growing. And apparently the site even crashed today. They're like, look, we're a startup, we'll get there. But hey, this is everybody, and I mean everybody, get over there and leave TikTok if you can. Because that's what we're going to be doing on our channel. Wally, I'm guessing you're already trying to grow a following on Upscroll as well?
I made an account today, so we're just starting off. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'll be on there.
Here's hoping for the best.
It sounds like a very fast growth rate. That's very promising, because you need that. You have to have that kind of growth if you're going to get traction.
I agree, and it's definitely on its way.
Wow. Okay.
Canadian Australian, and I'm the founder of Upscrolled. In mid-2024, I walked away from a successful corporate career in IT to found Upscrolled. And since then, I've devoted every waking hour to making this platform the very best it can be. Upscrolled is here to challenge the status quo and spark positive change. It's a new social media platform like Instagram or X, but without the shadow banning. What you see is simply what accounts you follow post, and your followers see everything you share, all in chronological order. And on top of that, we use a fair ranking algorithm for discovery of content. On Upscrolled, you'll enjoy the freedom to express your thoughts, share cherished moments, and connect with your fellow human beings. It's a space for everyone. So whether you are a travel blogger, artist, musician, activist, or serial cat video poster, everyone is invited to be their authentic and unfiltered creative self. For too long, our feeds have been manipulated by algorithms that prioritize cashed-up influencers, celebrities, and brain rot. These apps have deliberately wasted our time, taken our money, and distracted us from the truth about the world we live in. They've been complicit in injustice and suffering of people, while a genocide streamlined our phones. And that's when I knew the world urgently needed a platform that doesn't hide the truth. Big Tech told us to doubt our own eyes. Tens of thousands have already joined Upscrolled, but our vision is to reach millions and become the go-to platform.
Let's do that. Let's make that be that we can make that be so.
And for those that are in it for the right reasons, like the four of us, our audience, and several other creators that are out there, that this is a task that we can take on and we can make things happen with. Handful of these things go viral, and the more and more people will end up doing exactly as Travis says.
I would love to make TikTok worthless for Larry Ellison. Like, nothing would please me more than to leave him standing there like with his dick in his hand and nothing else. You know what I mean? I said when he bought it, everyone should leave.
Yeah, well, now you have an option to leave. That's what this comes down to more than anything else. You now have an off-ramp. People like TikTok for what it was for, what it was used for. And you know, the irony, gentlemen, in all of this was that we were told it was big, evil, red China that is the reason why we needed to get away from TikTok. Boy, oh boy, I bet you everyone is clamoring for good old commie China to have it back in their hands. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'd be more than happy to just hand my data over to the CCP instead of Larry Ellison have it. But that's kind of where we're at now, I guess. So,
has anybody seen the documentary about Larry Ellison's agricultural adventures in Hawaii?
No.
Check it out. He had this lunatic notion that he was going to grow all the world's food on a single island in Hawaii that he bought. And he was going to grow, and it didn't work, obviously. And then he pivoted to trying to grow square watermelons. And then that didn't work. And then the whole thing just imploded. And you watch this and you realize this guy's a freaking idiot. He just happens to have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that we've learned since, I would say 1984, in more ways than one, is that the real key to becoming rich, and I mean mega rich, is to figure out a way to cultivate the most amount of people to a commodity as possible. And it doesn't matter if the commodity has any value. It could be the most useless piece of shit in the world. But if you could get their data and if you could get their money, then that's all that matters. And that's ostensibly what happened. Who wants a square watermelon? A person who thinks that they can play God and make that determination. Even though since the dawn of man, watermelon and many other fruits and vegetables have been on this earth since the dawn of man. The man looked at a oval shape of a fruit and said, I can make that square.
I don't think that's true, but Hot Dog 1492, thank you for your efficiency expertise.
But it is amazing how they have this God.
And there's another, can I test another thing? Wexner, right? We all know he was involved with Epstein. How many people know he was involved with a similar and actually maybe even worse sexual abuse ring in Chicago when he was a young man? Is anybody aware of that?
No.
Okay. All right. I'll get you the links.
So he was affiliated with it, not necessarily charged or prosecuted, but like, so this is probably
None of these, and it was a ring that abused boys, and it was huge. And they had their own private island in, I don't know, Lake Michigan or Lake Superior, one of those places. And he was one of the ringleaders, and it was massive.
Was this the thing with the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch?
This was even before.
Okay.
It goes way back to the 80s.
Okay.
But that is Leslie Wexner. That is him.
It was Wexner was one of the main ringleaders in it. And when he lived in, he's either from Chicago or he was in Chicago in this thing. Well, who's that? Gacy, John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne
Gacy. This guy was affiliated. The guy that killed all those boys.
Yeah.
He was affiliated with Les Wexner's group.
Okay. Well, it makes sense because that was Chicago. So I mean that. Yeah.
So and I would also say that Wexner, if you want to know who the truly most powerful people in the world are, somebody like Les Wexner is at the very top of the mountain, because it's out in the open now that he is a sex trafficker and a pedophile. And on top of everything else, he has never been brought up on any charges. Nothing has come of this. And he is clearly a conduit to the state of Israel, period. So there's got to be an explanation as to why nothing's going down there. North Fox Island, very interesting.
That's it. You got it. That's it. That you hit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mainstream media gives them a pass, but even the I could call it the blogosphere. I don't know, what do you call it? The social media sphere kind of gives them a pass too. Really, I don't see much content on him.
Well, let's be fair. And there's one thing that Wally and I have learned, especially with X. They're really controlling the messaging that goes on there, like substantially. What can get out there, what can't. You also have to remember, if you're part of the club, whether you're in, Zio Blue or Psycho Red, it doesn't matter. It's all one and the same. There's a reason why somebody like Neera Tanden can get her information boosted out there as much as hers is. And the same is true for somebody like Benny Johnson. It doesn't matter. It's just a question of whether you're in part of a specific group. And if you are approved by the powers that be, they will make sure that your stuff is out there. Whereas stuff like ours, I mean, our stuff is so freaking shadow banned on everything. It's like, it's laughable at this point, but that's okay, because the people that are here, the people that follow us, the people that follow Wally and you, Ken, and everything in between, the ones who are doing it for the right reasons will eventually come out better in the long run, because this broken system's not going to hold. It can't, because too many people are looking at it saying, I don't want this anymore. I don't trust it. I don't need it. I want something else. And that's why having you both here tonight to talk about and never forgetting the impact that JFK had at one time. And it's extremely fortuitous that you're both here, because I found this clip the other day. Now, my understanding is that this is a clip of JFK from, I want to say, 1952, 1953. So this is at the very beginning of his Senate career. You could tell he looks very young here. He's clearly in his early 30s. But he had some very prophetic things to say about the Middle East.
I believe you also visited the Middle East on your trip. Now, why is it that we Americans have so many enemies in the Middle East today?
Well, I think that there's two reasons. In the first place, all of these countries, stretching from French North Africa to the South China Sea, French Indochina, all of these countries have been or still are under the domination of Western powers, the so-called white powers.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I mean, you want to talk about a man that was ahead of his time?
And there was no profit for him personally, politically, financially in taking this line in the 1950s in Massachusetts.
McCarthyism at fever pitch. Oh, yeah. Wally, can you talk a little bit about the different types of research that you've uncovered?
Yeah, definitely. And then also interesting to note regarding that is I think the French were really upset with JFK because of the fact that he was really supportive of the independence of Algeria. So that was also a really interesting kind of side thing that was going on as well with John F. Kennedy. But I think that well, he was also the first Catholic president, which was kind of interesting. But I really kind of got into all of this just because I was interested in AIPAC, and I was
it's quite a rabbit hole.
Well, so I was just curious of how AIPAC is so powerful, and then I stumbled upon a website that had all the FOIA documents of AIPAC. People requested a lot of Freedom of Information Acts, and I saw all of the AIPAC documents from the 1950s all the way to AIPAC's predecessor, all the way through John F. Kennedy's administration until Lyndon B. Johnson. And then I realized while I was doing that, oh wait, there was John F. Kennedy was in a battle not just with AIPAC's predecessor, but the entire Israel lobby that was forming at the time. It was still budding. And John F. Kennedy's administration was fighting via the Department of Justice to have the American Zionist Council, AIPAC's predecessor, register as a foreign agent. His brother RFK was Attorney General at the time, and that shocked me. I was like, wait a second, what's nobody really talked about this. I never heard about John F. Kennedy having a silent war, basically, with the Israel lobby that was just budding. Has anybody else really looked into it? I was pretty shocked.
Ken, right down there. He wrote a whole book about it.
Exactly.
Book.
And this was early. I mean, this was 2023. So nobody, I mean, the change in society since 2023 is astronomical. At the time, this was kind of really unheard of stuff on a really big mainstream level like it is now. And from there, I started looking into John F. Kennedy more. And then I started finding, I kept reading up and finding other, FOIA documents that came out. I actually submitted my own to the State Department at one point, or to the National Archives, so I was able to get some documents back as well. And I realized, John F. Kennedy kind of working with the Department of Justice to have the Israel lobby register was just one aspect of a much larger relationship he had with Israel, where there wasn't really just one thing that Israel didn't like about him. It was the entire relationship that Israel viewed as a roadblock to achieve its goals. And it was a very young country at the time, too. It felt like you could say now Israel really doesn't have a large existential threat aside from internally, I would say. Iran, I don't consider it as much of an existential threat. At the time, though, Israel really did have existential threats. It was surrounded by an existential threat. And that level of fear in Israel caused them and made them willing to do very extreme things in order to keep their existence. So it really was a long journey. And I'll let Ken speak a bit now. The Israel lobby aspect was one part of it. And then, of course, most pressing was definitely Israel's seeking for nuclear weapons development and John F. Kennedy's disdain for that. A lot of things he was, pushing for at the United Nations as well. So I'll let Ken go ahead and kind of speak from there, though.
I'm going to ask, though, Wally, for you to talk about something really unreported, which blew me away when I saw it on your show. I only know you from YouTube. I'm not a TikTok guy, so so you've only been on YouTube for 3 months.
Yeah. So
I must have found your first show because I wondered, why don't I know about this guy? But Wally did a show about the vitriol against Kennedy in the Israeli news media at around the same leading up to his assassination. I was completely unaware of that dimension of it, and I'd like Wally to talk about that a little bit because it's kind of a big revelation.
Well, I'm glad that you guys showed this video of kind of John F. Kennedy talking about the Arab world and everything, because most people don't know this. Palestinians love John F. Kennedy. Like, they really loved him. 3 days after his assassination, Palestinians, just as a collective, they sent a letter to the State Department sending a letter of condolences to the State Department. That letter is still public. If you just search up Palestinians to John F. Kennedy, you'll be able to find the document. It's on the NRA website. So John F. Kennedy's relationship with the Arab world was something really unheard of at the time. And the Arab people just in general there was a strong fondness there. And John F. Kennedy really wanted to try to play equal with them, which, as a president, that was really new stuff. I was curious to see, while John F. Kennedy was trying to stop Israel from developing nuclear weapons, while he was also, his administration, putting forward UN resolutions to allow Palestinians the right of return. That would be unheard of nowadays. That would never happen. I started pulling up Israeli media archives on what they felt about that. And they were mocking him for, a whole year prior to his assassination Apparently, there was a artist in New York City at the time, or back in 1963, that drew a naked photo of John F. Kennedy. For some reason, it wasn't making any American headlines at all, but the Israelis were really loving that. And they were just kind of talking about this, almost just mocking the guy. Article after article, whenever John F. Kennedy would push for things at the United Nations, the Israelis would say John F. Kennedy is completely subservient to the Arabs. Really just negative perception of him. In every single article, you really couldn't find an article where they seemed like they liked him. And this was especially true in the 6 months, 3 months leading up to his assassination, particularly because of the fact that John F. Kennedy's administration was supporting the UN resolution for Palestinians' right of return. And the Israelis thought that was a red line, complete red line. Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, actually sent a letter to Jewish American leaders in the United States at the time, stating that if the U.S. administration decides to move forward with Palestinians' right of return, Israel will see this as a greater threat to its existence, more than all the Arab armies, more than all of Nasser. Nasser was Egypt's president at the time, more than all of his Soviet MiGs. Israel will treat this and will treat this as, a common enemy and a threat, and it will fight it down to the last man. So that's how, angry the Israelis were with John F. Kennedy. So the ending was just really unfortunate.
To address the question that Peter asked way back, there was no hint of this, of this dimension, of the Palestinian dimension and the Israeli dimension in any stuff related to the Kennedy assassination.
No.
And I'm a big consumer of that stuff. I've been reading that stuff since I was 10 years old, literally. And there's hardly a book I haven't read and watched hundreds of hours, spent too much time on it growing up. And you don't get a whiff of any of this, which tells me perhaps the assassination research community has been controlled the last, whatever, 62 or whatever years it is.
I'm really glad you said the word controlled there, because I have a direct experience of this. There's only one subreddit for the John F. Kennedy assassination. It's JFK researchers. So it's not really a place where people send memes. It's really well-respected researchers, and they're really putting in a lot of documents and stuff. So it's a really, highly research-intensive subreddit. I have had three of my Reddit accounts banned on there, simply actually linking government documents, NRA documents, government documents related to Israel and the Palestinians. The person who runs the subreddit is a staunch Zionist. I've just shared documents of the Palestinian letter to the State Department at the time. They took it down, and the subreddit moderator banned me, stating that any accusations of such are anti-Semitic. And this is one of the most well-respected subreddits, in the JFK assassination. You can't talk about John F. Kennedy's relationship with Israel in this only JFK assassination subreddit.
Did anyone stand up? Did anyone in the subreddit stand up for you and say, "Hey"?
Yeah, I did. And they did, and then the moderator would start removing those comments, stating that the comments violated guidelines. So anybody watching this, I highly urge you guys to go into the JFK assassination subreddit. It's the largest one. And, try yourself to post something, actually post something like some research stuff, not just memes or whatever else, and see how your post does, because they'll remove it. At least they have been for me. So I kind of gave up on that subreddit. The book, the final oh my gosh, the name is slipping my mind.
Oh, I got it. Let me grab it. Hang on.
Final Judgment is the name of the book.
Wow.
On Israel and John F. Kennedy. And that's the first book that really, Michael Collins Piper, I believe, is the one who really kind of opened the doors to this. You can't mention the book in the JFK assassination subreddit. They say that the book is anti-Semitic. And then they'll quote the Anti-Defamation League as a source for its anti-Semitism.
Oh, because they're just they're the arbiter of honesty when it comes to that.
Right.
You got to finish the video. You got to
finish the video. But before we do, Jen, what have you always said about the JFK assassination? Who stands?
Oh, well, with anything, who stands to gain the most is always the person you have to look at. And I've always looked at LBJ. Always. There's no way that there's not some sort of connection there. But
what is
we've gone down this path with Ken before.
Yes. And what is the most obvious distinction between JFK and LBJ? JFK was weary and in the end against the state of Israel. And as much as people think Trump is the biggest Zionist walking the planet today that's occupied the Oval Office, no, it's actually LBJ. So the distinction between those two on this issue is what, in my opinion, brings it all together.
Well, also, therefore, is a heritage of animosity and hatred directed against the West, and as we are the strongest of the Western powers, we fall heir to a great deal of that. Secondly, these people live on a marginal level. Their standard of living is very low. Most of them are illiterate. They have this past history of Western exploitation. The communists, or at least the Russians, have not had a comparable colonial experience in this area. They move among the people and say, how could you be worse off than you now are? Come with us and you might be better off. It's compounded by the fact that in some of these countries they have native oligarchies who are corrupt and are not concerned about the welfare of the people. All these things compound in these difficult days, make for a fertile field for communist infiltration and weakness for the West.
Well, now, what can we do, sir, to retrieve the situation?
Well, I think that the odds are against us in Southeast Asia. We might as well recognize it. But nevertheless, there are some things that we can... No, I wouldn't write it off because I don't think we can afford to do it. But I think that, in the first place, I don't see any point in giving these governments large sums of money. But I would, because a lot of it would be wasted, but I would, and we haven't got it anymore, but I would give them technical assistance. We have done that in India. We sent out people from the Department of Agriculture who showed them how to increase their food productivity, which is their great shortage. And I would support the natives in those areas and their aspirations, even if they don't always do what we want them to do. I would support the free countries of India, Asia, India, Ceylon, Indonesia, Burma. I would support the native aspirations in countries like Iran, even if it happens to be against the interests of the West. That's right. And their attempts and liberal groups, and even if they happen to be working against the Western powers with which we're closely allied. I think we have to support the natives in their attempts to be independent, or otherwise those areas will be seized by the communists.
So his real motivation was keeping it from the communists, okay? But yet he does seem to have a certain amount of empathy for the natives.
Well, one of the things that I'm sure, Ken, in particular, you came across in your studies is that Kennedy was considered a hawk to some degree when it came to communism. That obviously evolved pretty quickly, and I would say the Bay of Pigs is obviously what completely changed it in like overnight in a way. But he doesn't come off like a hawk in the sense that he thinks we need to bring war everywhere. He's just, again, this is 1952, 1953, and he's saying Southeast Asia is not a good idea. We should not be getting involved in that. So anyone who suggests that he was advocating for war in Southeast Asia and Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, again, here's from a time in which you would consider him somebody who is somewhat of a hawk. And this is at the backdrop of the very end of the Korean War. So I would think that while he's not completely where he would ultimately end up, you can already see that this is a guy that was way ahead of his time.
Well, he did. He believed in a strong U.S. military. He believed the Soviet Union was a threat. And he was he was practical, but I think it was sincere human feeling. Why don't we make friends? Why don't we help these people who are, all they want is what we wanted? He gave that speech when he congratulated the people of Algeria. He did a television spot. And Wally, I don't know if you ever saw it, but he did a television spot to congratulate the people of Algeria when they won their independence.
No, I didn't see that. Send me the link later.
It's incredible. And he says, hey, we fought for our freedom. You fought for yours. It was hard, but it was worth it. He was right on national TV with that. So, yeah, I mean, he's a politician and he is an elite person. But I think he was a decent person. And to talk about the nuclear weapon issue, remember, he worked very hard to get the nuclear test ban treaty.
Yep.
And that was step one of putting a freeze on the development of nuclear weapons. And I think his third phase, if I understand it correctly, what he wanted to do was start dismantling them. And that probably made him a lot of enemies as well. And while he was doing that, the director of counterintelligence, James Jesus Angleton, was working with organized crime to help steal nuclear material from a Navy contracted plant owned by a Zionist in Western. Can I say that, or am I an anti-Semite?
You already are, but your anti-Semites are allowed on our channel, so please continue.
I am not an. If I'm an anti-Semite, I wouldn't like Wally either. It's such a crazy thing.
That's more true.
It's so crazy. It's so we are the only Semites. No,
We're not Semites. As a white
First of all, you're not a Semite. You're not even remotely a Semite.
No.
It's just it would be a comedy if the results weren't so tragic, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that. Regarding the nuclear treaty and James Angleton, when Kennedy made the nuclear treaty with Russia or the USSR at the time, James Angleton was infuriated, was super against it. And the Israelis reached out to John F. Kennedy, was Levi Eshkol at the time, the second prime minister of Israel, when the first one, when Ben-Gurion stepped down. And they kind of gave him a backhanded compliment when Kennedy made the deal with the USSR. And they said, oh, okay, well, it was great to see that you were able to push for the nuclear treaty because of your hard-headedness, in a way, is what they were basically saying while they were fighting with him about making sure that they'd be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. So, I mean, the Israelis, along with Angleton, were infuriated that Kennedy was actually making, trying to have some sort of nuclear ban, trying to have some sort of peace deal with the Soviets. They were infuriated. They wanted the complete opposite. So,
again, in the end, it's all about money and power. That's all it ever was about. And now, what is the motivation to bump up our military spending from 1 trillion, which is insane, to 1.5 trillion? What are they trying to do? Start World War III and bankrupt our country at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know when it's. I don't know at what point they'll be satisfied. I mean, how much longer can this go on? And I'm shocked that people don't recognize, the people in power don't recognize that. I've been reading up a lot on the Roman Empire recently, actually, and what the Romans were saying at the time about the overextension of their military, the corruption in their government. We are on the exact same trajectory of at the late stage Roman Empire. And it's shocking that, we're going down this path and there aren't enough people saying, hey, look where we're at. This is not sustainable.
Propagandized nation.
Yeah.
And it's been this way for far too long. I have more sympathy for conservatives than I do liberals, because there's a substantial portion of the conservative population, particularly in the South and the heartland, that are very undereducated. They grew up around the church. They do not have a way of the world that liberals, particularly coastal liberals and big city liberals, tend to have, which is an abundance of overeducation in many cases. And yet they can't seem to see their way through what's going on. Because in the end, this is a class war. That's all it's ever been, and that's all it's ever going to be. And the only reason why you see, white suburbanites in particular getting a little uneasy is because it's now affecting them directly. That's the only reason they care. They didn't care before. And that's why I've communicated with a few prominent members of the Black community who are basically like kicking back and laughing at this and thinking, oh, now you know what it's like to be poor and Black in the United States. It's not fun, is it? And that's essentially what's happening right now. And I think everything comes to a head with what happened on November 22nd, 1963. This has been a multi-generational slumber, if you will, for far too many people. They know that it's not right. But then again, I still know people who think that it was Oswald. He did it alone. And that's it. And in the end, I think there are just far too many people that don't want to know the truth. Just like if you could know the truth.
It's very uncomfortable, Peter.
It is. It is. But that's the world I want to live in. I like living in a world of uncomfort because I believe
that's
that.
For sure.
Well, yes, but I also believe that living is a privilege. It's not a right. Like, we are privileged to be in, what do you call it again? The capital?
We live in the capital. When you're in my Hunger Games reference, America is the capital. Just like if it was a Star Wars reference, I'd say we live in the Death Star. But that doesn't, but we're sort of hostages here to some extent.
Yeah. And the scary part is that a lot of blue America in particular are going to suffer the most because they don't have survival skills. Like, a substantial portion of them are way too dependent on technology. They are not good with their hands. That's a big problem, which is why a substantial portion of the country that lives in red America, rural America, they know how to survive and they're going to be fine. But things are going to get really bad really fast. And that's part of revolution. And that's part of what we're living through. The name of our channel is not, it's not a marketing ploy. It's the real thing, because this is what's coming, and it's already happening. It's just too obvious because there's too many people now that don't trust the system anymore. There is no going back to this. What is this anyway? I mean, you guys have followed us. We talk about this all the time. You have a federal legislative government that trades on inside information in the billions of dollars every day. How can you ever trust a system like that when none of them get prosecuted for it? So revolution's inevitable. And how it happens, it'll be interesting to see. It's a burden that is now upon us. That's correct. So final thoughts before we disembark for the evening. How do you foresee everything unfolding? I'm going to get to Anthony. Don't worry about that. How do you foresee things unfolding over the next several weeks, several months? We're probably going to have a shutdown on Friday. Let's see how crazy shit gets after that, because then it'll really get interesting. But how do you gentlemen see this unfolding as we go forward?
Ken, you can go ahead if you'd like to speak first.
Well, I think people should be paying attention to the fact that the price of gold and the price of silver has left Earth's orbit. And that is a sign that the financial system itself is collapsing, because it means that people with big money are saying, you know what, I don't want treasury bills anymore. I don't want U.S. treasury bills anymore. Give me gold. That's not good for the stability of the world. And it's happening. And I'm following it very closely. It's not just a news item. It's not just a blip on the screen. It's really serious. It shows that things are falling apart. And we haven't really talked about the situation in Gaza, but I mean, it's clear what their intentions are. It was really clear from day one. They want to level the entire thing and kill every single person there. And by the way, I don't think they're going to build hotels. I think it's going to be a huge natural gas, kind of like, have you ever been driven through northern New Jersey, kind of near Newark Airport, and seen all those refineries? Okay.
People from there.
Where do you think I'm from?
Oh, okay. What town?
Manalapan.
Where?
Right next to Freehold.
Oh, okay. Okay. I grew up in Essex County near Newark.
Okay. So are you Union, New Jersey? Is that where you're from?
Montclair, Essex County.
Okay.
Yeah.
From Yogi Berra's town. There you go.
Right, exactly. And Buzz Aldrin too.
Don't get Jen started on Buzz Aldrin.
No, okay, I won't. But I mean, there's a ton of gas in the Eastern Mediterranean, and it's got to get processed, and it takes huge facilities. And once I think they're going to play a switcheroo on Trump. They're going to tell him, "Oh, we're going to build your hotels and casinos." And then when it gets down to it, they're going to do the thing that's 50 to 100 times more lucrative, which is the gas plants. And then once you have cheap gas, you can make fertilizer, you can make chemicals. It's going to be horrible.
It's just the same thing with Ukraine. It's the same exact thing. As soon as it started, there's about $8 trillion worth of natural resources in just the western part of the country alone, and there is at least $500 billion in natural gas under Gaza soil. It is always about money and power. It always will be. And if you're still being fooled by it, I don't know what to tell you, because some people just can't be helped. I'm sorry, but it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Wally, your final thoughts.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with Ken. I think that, well, first I want to distinguish between America and the American Empire. Unfortunately, America is still going to be here. I think the American Empire, its military assets, the American Empire itself is on the decline, which is separate from the actual, the state of the country still existing. And I think that as we see the American Empire decline and become, instead of a global power, back to more of a regional power among other powers, that's also going to kind of coalesce with and coincide with I think what we're going to see with Israel is I don't think this can go on. And, I might be hopeful, but typically when countries, just like the Roman Empire, when it overextended the most is when it was closest to collapse. And I mean, Israel is maintaining an occupation of a third of its own country. So imagine the United States was occupying 100 million people right now. You can't sustain that financially. And you definitely can't do that for another 100 years. So something's going to give, whether they try to do a mass expulsion event. I just, I don't think this can keep going on. I think it's going to happen. I feel pretty confident something very massive change is going to happen in our lifetime, hopefully for the better, but it's going to be a rocky road, and we're going to see a lot of, global change when it comes to the United States as a dominant player on the field.
Here's hoping.
Gentlemen, thank you as always, and glad we were able to bring you both together, and grateful to have a handful of wonderful segments. The clips will be coming out, maybe some shorts as well, and we definitely look forward to collaborating again. And thank you again very, very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
And once again, if you are enjoying this conversation, which we hope you are, consider going to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. Let's get to those additional super chats. Who else do we have this evening? Well, isn't that sweet? Assad with the $5, my favorite channel on YouTube. We love you too, my friend.
Assad. Is it Assad M?
Assad M. Marvin Vargas with the $2. ISIS really control enforcement. We are all Palestinian. Agreed. Gezin82 with the $2. JFK questions. Yes. And he does question. Uncommon Magic with the $5. On a planet that's increasingly resembles one huge maximum security prison, the only intelligent choice is to plan a jailbreak. Robert Anton Wilson. I like it. I like it a lot. Anthony Aguilar with the $9.99.
You're already a patron.
Everyone get on Upscrolled. Ziotalk is going down. Isragram is next. I'm on Upscrolled. Also, love Jen and Peter. I'm on a flight to Minneapolis to join the brave.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Thank you, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Aguilar is running for Congress in North Carolina's 13th district, I believe, as an independent. He will be joining me on Saturday night for a conversation about his campaign.
Why do you always bring Anthony on when I'm not here? Why? Let me guys, let me tell you something. Peter is definitely having a bromance with Anthony. There is a bromance going on there. Let me tell you how fast Peter booked his trip to DC so he could go get in some good trouble with Anthony. I'm telling you. And now you're having clandestine meetings without me.
Hey, you could join on Saturday for the conversation.
No, I'm just saying. I just think it's funny that you always want to, have him on Saturdays.
Gezin82 with the $2. Wretched of the earth. It sure seems that way. And Anthony once again with the $9.99. Read the JFK letters online. You can read the letter JFK wrote to his father in 1939 after his trip to Palestine. JFK is also the founding president of Army Green Berets to free the oppressed. I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Interesting.
I didn't know that he was the founding president of the Green Berets. That's cool.
You can see where Stallone got his inspiration for Rambo, apparently. Gezin82 with the $5. I have more sympathy for liberals. Liberals are ethnic, Peter. Again, I don't know why that. Again, this is the issue here. I'm talking about sympathy for those who don't know any better. The
I
liberals.
don't understand what that means. What do you mean, liberals are ethnic?
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
I'm not sure what you're saying, Gezin.
Yeah, you got to be more specific about that. Anthony Aguilar really loves our channel and has become a YouTube member. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And finally, Citizen Pendejo with the 50 pesos, exceptionalism plus white supremacism, the Hillary syndrome. Vinny bayoneted him. Explain, Jen, what makes U.S. Zios get off smothering unarmed people? Smithering? I don't know the term smothering, but that's...
I don't know, man. Psychopathy. I mean, these are very psychopathic people. Zionism is a psychopathic cult premised on supremacy. I mean, it's Jewish supremacy, but at the end of the day, it's they use white supremacy to enforce it. They play off of each other, which is why there's always been a link between Nazism and Zionism. They go hand in hand. That is why it is not surprising that we're seeing the Zio interest in Argentina. It is not a coincidence. Nazis and Zios have always gone hand in hand and worked together. Yes. And so it is a white supremacy and a colonial project.
And so one of the content creators that I really appreciate is Ali Zitieri. He puts out these threads on Instagram, and they really detail exactly what the problem is here. There you go, guys. Two of our favorite people, Anthony Aguilar and Rothbone. Make sure in 1 hour you get over there. We will be off the air very shortly, so have plenty of time to get over there. But make sure you watch our clips. Those are important as well. And so Ali points out that ICE leaders are trained with Israeli military forces. ICE uses Israeli spyware.
Yeah.
In 2026, ICE has already opened an office in Tel Aviv. Americans are being killed at home by ICE.
Yep.
Media fuels hatred and division while expanding mass surveillance. It was never just about immigration. For over 20 years, top ICE officials have trained in Israel. So this didn't just start yesterday. This has been going on for a while. Official reason: international cooperation on transnational crime. Isn't that rich? Letting the IDF train ICE was a big mistake. How about just not having ICE altogether? And to hell with the IDF. Deaf to the IDF. But it shows how much control Zionists have over America. ICE is not America first. It never was. ICE uses Israeli spyware. ICE signed a multi-million-dollar contract with Paragon Solutions, an Israeli cybersecurity firm. Can't see that word, but Morphate's spyware can hack phones and access encrypted messages and location data. This can easily be used against Americans soon. I have no doubt that it's probably already happening.
Oh, of course.
ICE just isn't just trained by the Israeli military forces. They have a full field office in Tel Aviv. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's on their website. Most Americans have never been told. Let that sink in. Or why would they tell us? These programs send U.S. officials to train with Israeli
U.S. officers.
U.S. officers to train. You got to blow this up, Colin. It's way too small.
Don't be mean to Colin.
I'm not. You should just be able to see that this is really tiny language. That's much better. Okay. These programs send U.S. officers to train with Israeli police and military units. ADL National Counterterrorism Seminar, JINSA Law Enforcement Exchange, Project Interchange, AIEF. Their ultimate goal, not deportation, but triggering civil unrest. Or perhaps,
well, they're doing a great job. Excellent. I will give them that. They're on point.
These are not rookie officers. They are supervisors, commanders, police leaders, policy leaders, training directors, people who shape how agencies operate. They go to Israel, are trained by the IDF, then they train everyone else. No wonder why there's so much chaos and death. The Second Amendment gives Americans the ability and right to defend themselves. When armed citizens are attacked by militarized, massed ICE-trained agencies, some may try to protect their
IDF-trained agencies.
That's what I said.
You said ICE. Continue.
IDF-trained agent. Well, again, this whole thing's got shit blocked, and I'm running blind here in some places.
Some may try to protect their homes and families. One mistake, and it can spiral into brutal violence and chaos. See that? Oh, you want me to keep going? When protesters are killed abroad, U.S. leaders call it fascism and demand invasion and liberation. When a U.S. citizen is killed in America for interfering, they blame the victim and say he deserved it. By that same logic, does America need liberation too? Yes! Yes! Please! Please, somebody liberate us. Hypocrites. Okay, continue. ICE is funded by taxpayers. Well, we could get into that another time. Who profits? Geo Group, Core Civic. BlackRock is one of the largest shareholders of Geo Group and Core Civic.
Shock.
They lobby Congress. They open and close borders. Division makes them richer. Chaos makes them stronger. This is all true stuff. Is there a reason we're reading all this guy's X posts?
Colin, please pay attention.
Stop being mean to Colin.
I'm not. You know what? We're doing a segment. Please pay attention. 2020, 2021. Many people trusted the government, Pfizer, and agencies without question. 2025, 26. Many people trust the government, IDF trained agencies, ICE, without question. Same sheep behavior, left versus right is the illusion. Media and paid influencers manufacture division. Blue pill, trust the experts. Red pill, trust the enforcers. Both say comply, while BlackRock and Zionist agencies gain more power. If you're fighting each other, you're not watching them. This is textbook divide and conquer. Palantir gives ICE a digital dragnet to track, profile, and target people at massive scale. This is just a test run. Soon it'll be used against you. ICE operates like a domestic agency with no transparency, no accountability. Naive people are rooting for them. Incredible. ICE agents are not required to clearly identify themselves. This has caused serious problems: impersonation by criminals, abuse of authority, confusion during raids, reduced legal protections. Even courts have criticized this. Even courts? Human rights groups have documented wrongful detentions, family separations, deaths in custody, medical neglect, coercive deportations. These aren't mistakes. They're systemic, manufactured chaos. What do these programs focus on? Not in civilian immigration services, but in militarized context. Surveillance, crowd control, intelligence gathering.
Interesting. Fascinating.
Now zoom out. Look at the political cycle. Open borders, crisis, fear. Fear, crackdowns, surveillance, funding. Funding, expanded enforcement, repeat. Capitalism at its finest. Divide and conquer every single time. When migration increases, budgets grow. When fear increases, powers grow. When oversight weakens, abuse grows. It's a self-feeding loop, and they want you to justify abuse because you are next. This isn't pro or anti-immigration. It's about Zionist power over America. It's not left versus right. It's not immigrants versus natives. It's Israel triggering civil unrest by murdering U.S. citizens via IDF-trained ICE officers in America. Immigration enforcement should protect human dignity, due process, public safety, and civil rights, not operate like a shadow security force, not kill civilians like the IDF. But what do you expect when Israel trains them? They start killing their own people. Not surprised at all.
Just like they did on October 7th.
They profit from chaos. They profit from enforcement and surveillance. Who holds them accountable? Who benefits from opening and closing borders? Big corporations, lobbyists, security contractors, Zionists, rulers. America isn't run by Americans. Wake up. You want more proof that this is all propaganda? It's all bullshit? I got your water right here. I am firm, but I am fair. This is a lady who's in Israel, and look at what she discovered.
אני לא... היי, מה נשמע?
What is she looking? I'm confused what we're seeing here.
Now, this is all in Hebrew, so unfortunately, I can't read it and neither can you. But you want to know what she's addressing? This is news in Tel Aviv claiming that this girl was killed in Tehran. Why would they do that?
So, in other words, this woman that we're watching is watching a clip of herself on the news saying she's dead when in fact she is not dead.
Correct.
Okay, so the same woman that she's watching on the screen is her. Okay, so apparently they're just putting out their Hasbara. That's what it is.
And if you listen to any of the Zio scum fuckheads led by Shit Piro and Savetsky and the like, you know what they're going to say. Oh, that was just a mistake. We had her confused with somebody else. No, this is Hasbara. This is propaganda at its finest. Have you seen Wag the Dog? Thank you again, Jen, for recommending that movie.
Oh, I love that movie so much.
I mean, that movie can be applied to every form of propaganda that you see in politics.
That's why it was so good.
What do you think this is? This is Shu on the screen right here. That's Shu. Let's rally around Shu. Shu was killed in Tehran. We must bring justice to Shu in Tehran. We have to go to war in Tehran.
As they killed one of ours, but yet she's right there alive. And again, how do you know that Israel's lying? Lips are moving. Exactly.
And this brings us to the conclusion of the evening. It has now been exactly how many days? 5 days, 6 days. Not a word about 3 journalists killed in Israeli airstrike.
Okay, but that makes over what? That brings it up to 200.
How many broken ceasefires have we had now? How many?
Well, they've broken the ceasefire like 1,200 times and killed hundreds of people since the ceasefire. But the journalist death toll is over 250. It's been, I mean, this is nothing new. So it's kind of, I'm telling you, we have been so desensitized. 3 journalists killed.
Colin, please stop that video from scrolling.
But you see what's so interesting is how it's framed. And again, let's talk about media literacy for a second, guys. How it's in the passive voice. 3 journalists killed in Israel airstrike. No, Israel murdered 3 journalists. See the difference? They weren't just killed, right? Like you don't just walk through and all of a sudden you're killed, right? No, somebody kills you. That's the thing, right? That's how this works, which is typical for a hack organization like CBS that you would see this, but continue.
It's the entire it is the entire collapse of the corporate media echo chamber, the sphere. It's collapsing. How could it?
So I'll translate. Okay, all right. 3 journalists that were murdered by Israel worked with CBS News, including one of the cameramen who worked with CBS News. So basically, CBS had a cameraman of its own murdered by Israel. And they've said nothing.
Barry Weiss has not said anything. Can you scroll down, please, Colin? An Israeli airstrike killed 3 journalists in Gaza on Wednesday, so this is last week. The territory's civil defense agency said one of those killed, Abed Shot, has worked for years as a cameraman for CBS News and other outlets.
Do you understand how poor this writing is? An Israeli airstrike killed 3 journalists. You mean Israel killed 3 journalists?
Yeah. Well, why don't we ask this question? Why is Israel airstriking Gaza?
During a ceasefire, that aside, but again, the way that this is written is very poor. An Israeli airstrike. No. Israel killed 3 journalists in an airstrike. See, grammar matters.
Officials identified the other 2 journalists killed as Mohammed Salah Kashta and Anas Ghanem. The agent's France Press News Agency reported. Shot had also contributed regularly to AFP, but the agency said he was not on assignment for them at the time.
Okay. So the French press is reporting that their people were murdered. But CBS doesn't seem to care that its person was murdered.
The IDF released a statement saying troops identified several suspects who operated a drone affiliated with Hamas in the central Gaza Strip in a manner that posed a threat to their safety. Do you realize we don't even need to continue this? Do you realize that the sons of bitches that go out there like Io Jacoby who say, I don't feel safe, do you realize that they would have us all drone bombed as well if they could get away with it?
Well, that's where this is going. So when we talk about ICE and we talk about where this police state and this fascist, situation we're in, where it's going, is they're not stopping with immigrants. Okay. I've talked before about how, you're criminalizing homelessness. So now you have an actual legitimate legal reason to be rounding up unhoused people and putting them in work camps. All right. And then you just keep increasing the price of housing and squeezing people more and more. So more and more people end up in these work camps. It is not going to be just the immigrants. And again, even if it were, it's still completely unacceptable. But this is about all of us. They're going to come out for everybody. They start with the lowest hanging fruit. You're going to start with the most vulnerable people, and you work your way up till eventually anybody who just disagrees with you is your political enemy, and you get locked up for that. And that's where this is going.
This is one of the rare occasions where Jen and I will finish the evening with a quick segment about Nick Fuentes.
We will?
We will. Pull up the tweet, please.
How come I didn't know this?
Well, it's a nice surprise, but you'll like it. So for those people who still think that this guy is a swell dude and you should definitely be following him, I present you this. Every leftist that compares ICE to the IDF also ideologically supports open borders, mass migration, and white genocide.
That is one of the most straw man sentences I think I've ever seen in one sentence. Every leftist that compares ICE to the IDF supports open border. Well,
ICE is the IDF. And vice versa.
And you think somebody making that factual assessment somehow has an ideological concept of open borders? I don't think so. I don't think those are related.
This agenda has always been promoted by Jewish political organizations and billionaires that prop up the left. Don't be psyoped by left-wing garbage. Now, once again, I present
instead be psyoped by his Fed point bullshit.
Yeah. And of course, it's never framed as it's a Zio problem. It's a Jew problem, which is something that I've been pointing out about this guy for quite a while. And again, the audacity of Fuentes to say that there's no connection between ICE and the IDF. It's documented that it's connected.
It's just factually incorrect what he said. Right. So he knows that. But again, he got his talking orders. He got his marching orders. He's going to hit all those points. He's answering to somebody at the end of the day that supports the Zio state. He's answering to somebody. Whether it's a donor, whether it's his owner, whether it's his lover, I don't know. He's answering to somebody and is a Zio bitch.
And you've pointed out that you know who hates the Jews more than anybody? Zionists.
Well, yeah.
Zionists hate any Jew who's not a Zionist.
Of course.
That's a blood oath for a lot of them. So it doesn't surprise me that Fuentes uses the language that he uses. He's not saying Zionist. He's saying Jews.
Yes, because it's incendiary and it's a signal to his people and it keeps people agitated and it keeps him, sort of edgy. He's a grift. He's a grift.
Again, how could it not be? How could anyone who, if there's any groypers here listening right now, if you, okay, so here's our groyper. You disagree? How could you disagree with this? This is so clear as day bullshit. Like, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen him put out. I mean, I've seen a lot of bad shit, but this is bad. Like, this is like revealing yourself.
Well, it's just, look, it's so straw man, it's absurd. But while are we done with the Nick Fuentes portion? because I would like to promote my special revolutionary change event that is coming up Friday night and Saturday. Guys,
Boy,
I
you have
will
a
be.
packed week or what?
I know your show might start like maybe 10 minutes later, so on Saturday. It's possible that that could happen.
Knowing you, that's a definite.
Guys, Friday, we will be streaming a film on our channel called Reimagining Safety. It is by a friend of mine, Matthew Solomon. It's a really insightful movie. I would encourage anybody to see it. If you don't watch it here, it is on YouTube also. And then Saturday from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have 3 separate discussion panels. And we will be discussing the concept of abolition and what that is and what that looks like. And I just encourage people to have a little bit of open minds and consider possibilities. Just consider it. It's the idea is to just reimagine it. You know what I mean? It's not, anywho. So when we talk about ICE, because what we're seeing here right now, this like SS Gestapo type executive branch police force that we're seeing right now, this is inevitable as capitalism is failing and the powers that be are grasping for their straws. So the policing is going to get increasingly more militant, pervasive. You're going to see more and more cop cities that are going to be up and running all over the place. And as our dissent starts to rise, they will continue to just create bigger and bigger hammers. And, and Peter and I have argued about this, but I think eventually he'll see the light. But in the same way that I say there can be no peace without justice, people need to really understand this when I'm saying this because it's true. There can be no revolution without abolition. It cannot happen. You cannot have a revolution and maintain the system of the oppressor and their boot on your neck. And I would just suggest that maybe people consider the idea that for thousands of years, humans were able to keep themselves safe without state stormtroopers. Okay. So the concept is reimagining safety. It's a special event. I'd love to see, some of you guys check it out. And our panel discussions on Saturday are with some people. There are some people that are in the film, and it's just going to be really, I think, enlightening. So.
Guys, we are going to be live tomorrow night. I think we're live. I have to double check on that, if we're live or if we're being recorded, but we're going on with our friends over at BetBeat Media at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you're going to get a lot of us this week. Lots of clips, so be prepared. But tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be live on our channel, cross-streaming with BetBeat Media. So check us out, smash that like button, and also, I believe we have a couple of more super chats. Let me just make sure. Yes, we do. One more super chat for the evening. Joe Liptow with the $4.99. I would rather have felons of color as neighbors than Zio-fascists of wealth any day. We must unite against this disgusting cult. Yeah, we certainly are heading in quite an interesting revolutionary direction, aren't we? Smash that like button, share, subscribe. Jen, will it be reposted for those who?
So, guys, yes, because all of our stuff will just be on there. So if you can't watch it Friday night, it'll still be on our channel. And again, it is on YouTube. And our live stream on Saturday of our panel discussions will be available just like all of our other live streams are available. Yes, on Thursday, John Fugelsang is coming. So, guys, we're going to be discussing a lot of things, but his new book is called Separation of Church and Hate. And I have finished it. Rachel's reading it right now because he was kind enough to send a PDF because I only had the Audible. So we'll be talking about that. He's great.
Is there a one-time donation link to the channel?
Not anymore. Not anymore. There isn't. But I mean, what people do is they go and they join Patreon and then they cancel Patreon. But I used to have a way to do it on Patreon, but I realized by having that, they were able to take more percentage from us, but to be able to have a one-time donation. So we don't have it anymore. We do have a Cash App. And we've put that out before. If people wanted to donate through Cash App, you always can. But no. But however, our PAC can take all sorts of one-time donations. Right, Peter?
Yes, we can. Let's get that up there over Jen's shoulder. Guys, we are supporting Shama Sawant in Washington's 9th Congressional District against Zio scum Adam Smith. And
we are pushing for our
currently raising $15K to do billboards, digital billboards along I-5 in the congressional district. So if you want to lend a hand, this would be a great opportunity to help out. And it's a PAC, it's a super PAC, which means you're off the grid. So you want to protect your information and all that. You don't have to go through Act Blue if you don't want to. So
no, we have Anodot on there as well. So you do not have to go through Act Blue. There's two ways. You can do Act Blue and you can do Anodot.
Guys, we are at Revolutionary Change on Upscroll. It may even come up as Revolutionary Change now on Upscroll. So be on the lookout for that. Colin, if you could add that to the description. Going forward, get on Upscroll. We'll be posting simultaneously on TikTok and Upscroll until eventually we grow a channel from TikTok into Upscroll, and then we could be done with it altogether. So with that said,
we are on with BetBeat, right? It's BetBeat Media.
BetBeat Media tomorrow night. You'll see it because we'll stream it from our channel.
We had them on our show a few weeks ago. They are really nice guys. They are over in China.
China.
With their podcast. So it'll actually be the morning for them. And welcome to our show, Scandinavian Sunset. And who the heck is Colin? Colin is our producer who is behind the scenes, who basically does all the work back there and sometimes takes some abuse.
You call it that. I call it friendly banter. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.